Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the official YPM On the Hook podcast. My name is Rick. I'll be your host for the next half hour or so, and I'm very excited for today's episode. In addition to it being episode 20, which we only just realized today, nearly 2 years of having you guys come and spend your time with us. Today, we have a great guest. Jewelianna Ramos is with us, actress, stunt person, martial artist. Is there anything you don't do, Jules? Welcome to the show.
I don't ice skate, so we'll leave that to them.
Really?
Hey guys, I am a professional martial artist turned stunt woman, and as of the late, very proud to be an actress. And I'm so excited to be spending my day chatting with y'all on the hook.
Nice. Thank you, Julianna. One of the things I want to get out of the way right up front, if Jules looks familiar to you from some of our work, it's because we had the great honor of having the opportunity of working with you on Suicide Squad. You did our live action kind of, I don't know, what was it, like a villain training and an obstacle course?
It was too much fun. Too much fun for it to be called work. I mean, we did like this in real life traversing Metropolis in order to get people really to see how we had fun in pursuit of the Suicide Squad video game coming out.
That was such a cool shoot. I unfortunately didn't get to go, but I saw all the B-roll from it too, and it looks like you guys just had fun every single moment of it. And the end result was fantastic. You guys were all great.
Thank you.
I kind of want to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're an accomplished martial artist.
Thank you.
How did that start?
Well, I've been fortunate to be a martial artist since birth or before that. My parents were my instructors. I was basically born and raised on the mats. My father was my main instructor. My uncles all have karate schools, and my parents had a karate school before they had me. And after that, we just continued to have martial arts schools. It's all I really knew. Fortunate that I was also not pressured to do martial arts. So when I was 5 years old, kindergarten peer pressure, the huge, the girls were like, ew, karate's for boys. You can't do karate. You have to do dance, gymnastics, cheerleading, this and that. And I was like, okay, I guess. So I quit martial arts, and my parents were like, sure, what do you want to try? I got to try all the other sports and after school activities that my little heart decided to, and I tried it all. But at 8 years old, I remember my dad saying, hey, on Saturday morning, I'm going to go train at your uncle's karate school. Do you want to come with? And I was like, yeah, please. Like, get me out of here. Ballet is not it. Please. And so I went, and that day I actually I remember visuals and everything. My first day back in class, at that white belt around my waist, earning my first stripe. My dad failed me for my second stripe because I didn't keep my balance on my 3-count front kick. And just knowing, I got home and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, like, this is what I want to do. Like, I know I told you guys I didn't want to do it, but this is what I want to do. I knew it was my passion, and I had been bitten by the karate bug. I had karate fever, and I just wanted to eat, sleep, drink. You couldn't get me out of that karate school. I wanted to sleep over at the karate school if you let me. And after that, I went on to compete, started competing, fell in love with the challenge of competition, and went on to become a world champion martial artist, continued to do that until it led me to stunts.
That feels like almost a natural progression, a little bit. The physicality is similar.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. So the beautiful thing about being a martial artist is that a lot of the things that we do in stunts has a somewhat similar feel or names. And obviously a lot of fight scenes are martial arts oriented, but film fighting is very different from actual martial arts. So learning how to apply that is cool, and seeing that there's multiple ways to do the same moves. It's also a beautiful place for a martial artist to land because of the body awareness that martial arts teaches you, right? There's that body awareness where you can take a note and add that physicality and make it look like what it is that they're looking for screams. Right. So I've never done, say, Muay Thai or, this and that. But if you ask me and you tell my foot to do this and my arm to go there and my body to turn this way at this time, the body awareness that martial arts teaches you makes you successful at those notes and those things for film. So there is some sort of natural progression there, which is why I'm so passionate about giving back to the martial arts and teaching our youth that, hey, once you turn 18, it doesn't mean that your martial arts career ends. Like, there is more after this. Your skills, what you're passionate about, your time, money, and energy that you've spent all of doing martial arts has a valuable place, and it is valued in film should you choose to pursue it. So my husband and I now have a company called Action Stunts, where we teach martial arts children, martial artists, how to turn their martial arts for film.
That's very cool. I didn't know the school aspect of it that you had started together. That's very cool. I feel like, another piece of that is I also feel like, to some degree, for my brief period that I took martial arts, it also teaches you how to fall without hurting yourself, which I would think is fundamental to stunts, right?
It sure is. So in stunts, we call them recs. So you take a rec. In pro wrestling, it's called a bump. You take a bump. In martial arts, they're called break falls. They're all the same thing. It's all the same premise, learning how to disperse energy and not get hurt. You add the layer of acting, and now it looks like, oh man, that hurt. He hit the ground and they're hurt and they're out or they're knocked out. But it's just a move that we learn how to do. So yeah, that's another beautiful part of the martial arts integrating into film.
So as connected as they obviously are, I want to know, what was that moment? What was the step? Where did you take that first step from martial arts into stunt work? What was that? What was your first job as a stunt person?
So really neat. My husband got called to work on Cobra Kai and Ozark. So he had gotten started in it before I did. And our best friend, he was also the best man at the wedding. That's why I called him. Our best friend, he had been doing stunts in Miami, which is where I was born and raised, for 10, 12 years. So we'd seen it, we'd heard of it, and our friend circle was already kind of in it and training it. So when I was competing and I needed an extra challenge, I would go and train with stunt performers because they still do a level of martial arts, and physical stuff. It was different. So it was a challenge. And so I would go and train, and I liked it, and I would do it here and there, but I wasn't pursuing it as a career. I was very happy running martial arts schools, and I loved the stability of kind of that martial arts business industry, right? That kind of corporate feel. But one day there was a stunt coordinator down in Miami, Juan Bofil. He called our friend and he was like, hey, Jules, you guys' friend, is she interested in doing stunts? Because I'm having an all-woman stunt private workshop down in Miami. And if she came, I would love to have her. And Justin, my husband, and Chris, our best friend, sat me down and they were like, okay, you keep training stunts and people already know you. If you do this, you have to take it seriously and you have to pursue it. Or you gotta kind of choose. And so I chose to pursue it, and I chose to really put my eggs in that basket. And I stepped out of the martial arts business industry and I stepped into stunts. And after that workshop, he called me like a week later and he was like, hey, do you want to jump off a yacht in Miami? Are you available to come do that next week? And I was like, I guess, sure. Yeah, why not? Sure. So I was there and I got tafted, and that was awesome. I got to work that job with my husband. So we both got to work together on my first ever job, and we were on a boat and a yacht in Miami. That's
a pretty cool way to start. I mean, when we jumped off boats when I was growing up in Miami, we just called it swimming.
Right.
Before we go too much further, I have a burning question that I know everybody is waiting for me to ask, because I've seen your reels, I've seen your clips. I know you've done this. What's it like to be on fire?
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun if you enjoy the challenge of zeroing in your brain, because there's obviously all of these check engine lights going
Sure.
off in your brain, right? So you have to hold your breath. You have to take a big deep breath before you go into your burn, because you can't really just breathe freely, right? There's
Right.
flames. And even though there's fire gel all on your body and your clothes and your hair, it does burn through. And you can't put that gel on the inside parts of your body, right? So you can't put that inside your eyelids, you can't put that in your eyeballs, you can't put it in, you can put it inside your nose, but it doesn't cover your lungs or the inside of your mouth. So if you breathe, you get fire in there. So there's a lot of moving factors to being on fire. And if you can zero in your brain, you can have a good performance. You can tell a story. You can do cool physical things, as long as you don't break those rules that there are with fire. And it's a challenge, and it's fun. It gives you that
It's fun to be on fire.
it really is, because when else do you really have all those hazard lights going off where you have to challenge yourself to get your brain to think of that one goal you have, that story you're telling, right?
Right.
You don't really get
I can imagine it's a real challenge from an acting side to do that. I'm panicked. I'm running around. I'm on fire. I'm freaking out while also being super hyper focused at the same time, so that you don't accidentally actually catch on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. As an actor, it's really neat because there's times where you have to act like you're scared, or you have to act like you're freaking out, or you have to act like you are being tied. There's so many different stories, and remembering certain beats. If you're interacting with other people, where is camera? How do you play the camera so that they see the best of the fire? There's a lot of different aspects to it. So it's similar to being underwater, when I have to do like a long breath hold and perform underwater. I can't breathe. There's all these things in my brain that's telling you, you need oxygen, but you put it to the side and you say, no, I'm telling a story, and I will give you oxygen when I give you oxygen.
You, you'll mildly suffocate and like it. We'll just get through the scene and be fine. It'll be okay.
That's just the
That's
water.
actually a, a really good entrance into my question on selling it. How challenging is it as a stunt person to really kind of, because I think you guys have a double job when you're trying to like sell a fight, right? Like trying to make it look as real as possible without anybody actually getting, boards broken over their heads or bottles or any of these things. While at the same time, you have to stay in the character in a way that's true to your actor, right? So how
Absolutely.
how challenging is that to take all of those elements and kind of just put them into a scene?
Yeah. So there's a lot of layers to it, right? So we study the same script that the actors do. We are breaking down the same character that those actors are breaking down, and we are telling the same story. So we have to be on the same page. And sometimes we do and we don't get that good time to talk with the actor and be like, hey, what are you doing for this? So our job also includes film study. We have to study how we have to go to Video Village and spend a few hours just watching the mannerisms of how that actor is telling the story. What's happening in that scene? Is that person scared? Is that person angry? Is that person frustrated? Is that person a technical fighter? Is that person just a brawler? So you break it down. That's one layer. Then you have the layer of, being safe and doing your job. You should have enough training that safety and performing it safely comes naturally. You almost don't have to think about it at this point. And then you have to think about your environment, right? There's objects of opportunity. Sometimes things don't go right, and you have to improv and still stay in character. Who are you playing off of? Do you trust them? How much space should you have? So all of those layers kind of compound, and you take your time breaking down each one. But ultimately, it's an extreme challenge, which is what makes it so fun, because like I said, not everything goes right. And
Right.
playing with some people, right, they'll forget the choreography, and they'll kind of give you that look, and you have to take charge in the character that you are still telling. If you just ran and now you're fighting Ghostface, you can't just like all of a sudden stand up and start fighting. What is a scared girl fight back with, right? And
Right.
so being really secure and doing your homework has to be a big part of the job that is not really talked about a lot. And it's what makes it so challenging and so fun and so consuming.
I love that everything we've talked about so far, you make sure to point out that it's fun.
Yeah.
It's real easy to tell you enjoy what you do immensely.
I am so passionate. I'm a passionate human anyways, and anything that I've ever done, but specifically this one, where it allows me as a martial artist, as a female, as somebody that enjoys a mental, physical, and emotional challenge, this career really allows me to be me at a whole, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, but not always. Sometimes things happen. Yes.
Correct.
So, I mean, injuries part of the job. Have you ever been in a situation though where you've been in a scene and you're really deep in it, everything's going right, and you're doing such a great job that you somehow manage to get injured and nobody really notices? How do you take that? Do you press through the scene? Do you say you need a cut? Do you hope somebody on the other side of the camera sees it and yells cut? What happens there?
So, as a stunt performer, it's almost it's an unofficial official rule, right? Where you as a stunt performer don't want to call for the medic. There's
Right.
there's not a world where that is your first option as a stunt performer. And so I remember working on a show that I hold near and dear. It was my first run of the show. I was on for the entirety of it, doubling one of the leads. And it was one of our easier days, right? We're running in the forest. She's part werewolf. So there's some parts where we're running in the forest. It's dark. We just see her silhouette. And she kind of goes from like all fours to like running to all fours to running. And there's a tree log that I kind of like parkour vault over it and just keep running. Honestly, I was just running. It's not difficult. But the factor is that it is dark. There are leaves and there are tree branches, divots, and all that sorts of stuff under there. And one simple misstep and my ankle is dislocated.
Oh,
I remember landing and looking up. I bailed out of it and I look up and I can see the bottom of my foot facing me. So I'm looking up and the bottom of my foot is looking at me and I go, oh. They yell cut because my silhouette has disappeared in the forest. They're pretty far out. It's a wide. So they're just like, oh, all good, cut. We got it. That's plenty of B-roll for us to cut into her running in the forest. But I take a second and I haven't just showed up back to our stunt, base camp yet. So one of my castmates runs over and he looks at me and he goes, dude, you tumbled. Are you good? He thought I just tucked and rolled like I usually do, or it was part of like the parkour scene. And I go, I just grabbed my foot. It's broken. And it like, I snapped it back into place. It just like, whoop, snapped back into place. And I was like, I just need you to go get me my gear bag and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. I just reset it. I'll deal with this tomorrow. And he's like, good, because they yelled cut. They said they got it. They don't need anything else. We'll deal with this when we wrap. It's like 3:00 in the morning. He goes and he gets me my gear bag. I take out lidocaine. I spray lidocaine. I wrap it with self-adhesive wrap. I put it back in my boot. There were some Doc Martens. I tied the laces real tight. And I just walked out of the forest and they were like, oh man, you took a while. And I was like, yeah, I lost a contact. So I had to just find it in there, but we're all good. So then I just sat at base camp. They brought me my lunch. So I didn't have to like break and walk anywhere. My immediate like castmates and stunt, friends knew. And so they helped me kind of get through it. Went home, went and got it checked out the following day, dealt with it. And 2 weeks later, I was back on set. It just
wow. There were no additional scenes for you that night, right?
No, because
Lucky.
there's a guy. He knew. Crazy.
That's probably the best case scenario for an injury.
Best case scenario, honestly. It worked out. I still deal with it to this day. I still have to wear my ankle brace, and there are some moves. There's not the same mobility. It likes to just pop in and out. The tendons are loose. I'm supposed to get surgery for it, but there's a 6-month recovery time. And I don't have that at this point in my career. So we'll push through.
What's it like coming back from that kind of injury? And is there a mental cost to this? Other than, you mentioned that you're now where you can't do certain movements or turn a certain way or,
Yeah.
trust that ankle anymore, I guess.
I think that is the biggest one. Right now, I'm super cautious of everything that I do, especially like parkour moves that require me landing on that ankle. I have to ignore the check engine lights and just be like stabilize your ankle, focus on stabilizing your ankle, and this is nothing that you can't do. And if it feels funky, I know how to bail out of it. We'll just tuck and roll, baby. No problem. So the mental part of it is hard I'm never going to be the same again. And how can I preemptively get on top of things that could potentially injure it again? But other than that, it's just, like I said, study the course and truck it through.
Clearly, it hasn't had too much of an impact on your availability to work because recently you've been in a couple of really interesting films, one of which I'm deeply jealous of because it's my favorite director of all time. Tim Burton is legend, and you have had the opportunity to work with him.
Absolutely. And actually, one of my favorite, I'll go ahead and deem it my favorite production I have worked on yet. Like there's no, that's it. Like working side by side with Tim Burton, waking up and having breakfast at the same table as Tim Burton, dinner. He's taking pictures of us in costume because he's like, oh my gosh, you look so great as a shrinker. Let me airdrop you this, like just those moments. But they're all so real. They're personable. They're sweet. They're down to earth. There's no aura of them that makes them feel untouchable, which is so weird because he raised me, right? My favorite movie growing up was Nightmare Before Christmas and The Corpse Bride and Beetlejuice. My parents have made me watch. I started watching Beetlejuice when I was like 5-6 years old.
So what's that like to be in the sequel to a movie that your parents basically raised you on?
It was unreal. And honestly, when I smacked into that tree, when I did the big stunt gag, Tim Burton, of all people, forgot to yell cut. So he stood up in Video Village and started clapping, and he was like, fantastic. And he started clapping, and he walks out, stands in front of like a cam, and he gives me a hug, and he goes, that was so amazing. I'm not going to make you do it again. And I looked up at him, and I was like, he just said fantastic. And then I reminded him, I was like, hey, but I would do it as many times as you need me to, like for you, anything. But
did you go back to the film crew and say, hey, can I get a cut of that last part?
Unfortunately, as soon as he started to walk out of Video Village and his AD saw that he was about to walk in front of camera, he was like, I think that's a cut. And so they cut. I was like,
that would have been a nice clip to have. And of course, obviously, we're talking about, can we say it? I've said it once already, so we'll risk 2 more. We're talking about Beetlejuice. And you doubled for
Jenna Ortega, which was,
how's that?
She is the sweetest, kindest, most genuine little human I have had the pleasure of working with. She pays everyone a compliment. She's so giving. She loves to pay compliments to anybody that she comes in contact with. She'll go out of her way to go and step out and take pictures with fans that have showed up to location. She'll go and sign autographs in between takes. She loves to call her family on FaceTime and keep them updated. She's just a real wholesome human, and I'm very proud of the person that she is and the message that she likes to spread about empowerment. She loves to bring, we had a lot of conversations about how proud we are to be Latinas, both Puerto Rican, and get to tell these stories, because we didn't grow up seeing a whole lot of Latinas represented in the film industry, and to be, you know, a character and the stunt and both Latina. It meant a lot to both of us, and we had some good moments, good hugs, and it was nice.
That's excellent. You're also recently in another film, kind of a big deal. Couple of well-known actors in it, yeah?
Which one?
Oh, which one?
That sounded incredibly
it really did.
I'm so sorry. That is not me at all.
It's totally fine. I loved it. I thought it was perfect. A couple of bad boys, I hear.
Oh yeah, a couple of bad boys. Oh my goodness, that one was such an honor, because it is my first big screen acting debut, right? It's a big deal, especially as a stunt woman that has transitioned into acting. The second unit director, Greg Rementer, which I look up to incredibly, one of my favorite stunt coordinators to work for. I had just worked with him on Red One, which is the Christmas movie with The Rock that's about to come out.
Yep.
So I played Agent Penguin on there. And so we spent a lot of time together, and he was like, hey, I've got a project right after this movie that I think there's a part you'd be perfect for. A few weeks later, after we wrapped Red One, I get a call from him while I'm at work on Jackpot, which is that Amazon action comedy movie with John Cena and Awkwafina. While I was on set there, I was in the dojo. My phone, I was talking to my coordinator there. My phone goes off and it says Greg Rementer. And my stunt coordinator there looks at it and he goes, I think you should take that. And I go, may I? And he goes, looks like you got to go to the bathroom. So I run out and I go stand outside and I answer the call. And he's like, hey, do you have an acting reel? And I was like, sure, but it's not anything great. What are you looking for? And he was like, I need you petrified, terrified, scared for your life, screaming, crying, all the above. And I was like, sure thing. I'm at work at the moment, but as soon as I wrap, I will self-tape for you and I will get it to you as soon as possible. And he was like, cool. I just need it before noon tomorrow, or 8 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, I'll make it work. I wrapped at like 1 a.m. So here I am going after doing stunts all day. I get home. I'm super tired. I wake up my husband. Hey, I need to self-tape. And he was like, can you do it tomorrow? And I was like, no, it has to be done now. So we wake up and I'm sitting on sweaty, dirty. I've got bruises everywhere from my work day. I'm just sitting on the floor and he goes, all right, be terrified. And I didn't have it in me. I just couldn't, I couldn't muster the tears. I couldn't get it out of it. And we started to really get into the character, right? We build our own little backstory. I didn't have sides. So my audition is just whatever I wanted to give them. Mm-hmm. And so I eventually get to that point. It's like 3 a.m. at this point. Tears, screaming, crying, terrified, scared for my life. Send it to Greg. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's so late. But here you go. And thank you for your consideration anyways. The following morning, I'm back at work on Jackpot. And he calls me, but I missed the call. And then I see a text that says, hey, showed your audition to the directors and they love you. We want to book you, but I have some things I want to talk to you about. So I call him back as soon as I can. And he's like, hey, if you're down, we're down. You booked it. And I'm like, yeah, if you think it's good for me, I'm there. Yeah, let's do it. Right. Fantastic. The experience was great, but leading up to it and them having that much faith in me made it feel that much sweeter. So I'm ever so grateful working with Eric Dane alongside him, such an amazing actor that I've been watching since I was young. He made me feel so comfortable. He was so respectful. He helped my character come out. He was like, dude, you're awesome. You're killing it. We've been doing this for 8 hours and you still have this same energy as when we started. He really commended me for the job and made me feel confident in what I was doing, and I had a blast.
Was it easier to act than it was to do stunts? I would think 8 hours acting maybe is not as taxing as 8 hours worth of stunts.
So what's funny is it's actually a stunt acting role, right?
Okay.
So the reason why it got cut out in the final edit of the film on Bad Boys Ride or Die, but originally, Eric Dane, once he does the thing and I'm unalived on his lap, I'm in a bikini, so I don't get the leisure of pads, and also we can see the floor, so I don't get the leisure of mats. I have to dead body get through. He shucks me off of him, so my dead body my body goes onto the floor, and I have to break that fall without looking like I prepped for that fall or broke the fall. I just have to eat it. And so a combination of both, probably one of the hardest things, right? Because I'm crying, tears, trying to get tears out of my face for 10 hours. On top of that, just dead, flopping onto the floor, head smacking the ground and just laying there while they do the rest of the scene, right? And at one point, I remember the directors were like, can we get some more tears again? And I was like, I don't think I drink enough water. I didn't taste myself. All my tears were gone like 2 hours ago. And so they were like, no problem. We'll get you a tear stick. So here comes makeup, and they put the menthol tear stick on my eyes. It's burning, but no tears.
Oof.
I was run dry. So being able to still tell that I'm terrified, held hostage, I'm crying for my life without tears actually running down my face was very difficult. But Eric and my other castmates really helped me pull that character and sell that story. And it was challenging, but like I said, challenging is fun for me.
And in true Hollywood style, sadly, it gets cut.
Right.
I feel like I need but wait, that's still not all. Because you also do motion capture performances.
I do. I don't know if you can tell, just from the little bit of time that we've been here, but I am very animated, right? I talk and I love to tell stories with my body. I love to talk with my hands. If I can go into a voice, I will. I'll do little impressions. I also like to show what I do with my body, and that's just something that comes naturally to me. So obviously, that being that, I fit in the motion caption world where it's telling stories with just physicality, no words, and being able to bring characters to life. And my favorite one was Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 1 has been a dream come true, right? As a martial artist,
Sure.
that's the pinnacle, right? Isn't it? And so actually just today, Mortal Kombat 1 expansion pack came out, and my husband's playing it as we speak. We got to see Harumi for the first time ever in the Mortal Kombat universe not play a damsel in distress as Scorpion's wife. She is a badass, and it's so much fun. I didn't want to give it away, but I hope you guys play and get to see her come to life. And also Sector, she is a female this time around, and I had the great honor of helping that character be told in her story alongside some phenomenal stunt performers like Lauren Marie Kim. She's known for her Star Wars stuff, and she played Cyrax, and we got to do some stuff together. And Andrew Franklin, phenomenal, also martial artist and stunt performer. He got to bring Sub-Zero to life, and Jordan Okubo as Scorpion. And it was a beautiful time to bring those characters together that we already know and love and have a really high standard to live up to, right?
Decades of fandom and people who played as kids and still play now as adults and older adults. And yeah. But my real question is, was it fun?
It was fun.
It was fun.
That most definitely it was fun. I mean, getting to do what I was born and raised doing and immortalize it. Haha, mortal. But
Immortal Kombat?
Yeah, for it to live
Spoiler alert.
Forever, for it to be documented, for it to tell a story for hundreds and thousands, millions of people that not only are fans, but are probably know martial arts, because a lot of martial artists love to play the game, but really get to see that authentic kick, that authentic weapon work, that authentic fight choreo. It's beautiful. It was fun.
I'm almost afraid to ask at this point because right now you are a martial artist, stunt woman, an actress, a motion capture artist. What do you want to do next?
What do
What's
I
a challenge sitting out there that you want to take on?
So definitely in the shorter term goals, I want to pursue more of the stunt performing. The stunt acting stuff. I've been stunt performing and now the stunt acting stuff. You heard how challenging it was to do both, and how fun that challenge was for me. I want to pursue more of those, but those jobs are few and far in between. So pursuing that. Also, my long-term goal is to become a producer. I am a businesswoman at heart. We've been entrepreneurs for years, and getting to exercise that in the industry that I'm so passionate about, I'd love to continue to create opportunities for other people, put people on the right seats on the bus, put passionate people in places where they can thrive, artists where they can have a safe place to do what they do and be able to put food on their plates. I'm passionate about creating and storytelling, and I think becoming a producer would be a great way for me to exercise all the things that I'm passionate about.
You want to do all the things,
All the things.
all the things because they're fun.
Because they're fun. And why wouldn't I, right? If
Right.
I have been blessed with all of these options and the gumption to go for it, why not go for the most, right? Check all the boxes off. Life is not promised, and I think it's really I've got a track record that makes me feel confident in moving in the direction of wherever my heart kind of wants to go for it, because if I've landed on my feet before, it's a good chance I'll land on my feet again.
It sounds to me like everything you've pursued, you've excelled at. So do everything, literally do all the things.
Thank
But I do have a question. As a stunt person, is there something, is there a stunt, is there something you've always wanted to do that you haven't had the opportunity to do yet? And the flip side of that question is there something you won't do? Is there a stunt that you just think about and you go, nope?
Nope, not for me. I'll answer that one because that one's easier. That one would be the high fall section of our industry. I don't know if you have
Mhm.
seen Fall Guy. Um, they did this insane 150-foot high fall off of the helicopter onto an airbag. Love it. It's amazing. Love to watch it. Love to know people that do it and do it great. It's not for me. It's not for me. I'm not saying I'm scared of heights. I'll do a 20-foot, 25-foot. I mean, are those even considered high falls? Not really, but I'll do a low fall, 20, 25 feet. But anything above that, go get a specialist. Yeah, that's them. That's their thing. That and like big car, motorcycle stunt jumps and roll. There are plenty of women that excel in that, and that is their thing. Go get them. I'll recommend you some. Um, that now the big stuff that I would be excited to do would probably be I want to say something like a wire work related helicopter jump thing, but wired, like
Right.
rigged up with a safety line. Like, I think there was a few movies we've seen, like, oh, in Bad Boys, not Ride
Mhm.
or Die, the previous one, he Will Smith had a thing where he was on a ladder hanging off of a helicopter. That looks like so much fun. Oh my goodness. I would love that. He's assisted by a wire. He's not going anywhere. I just got to
Right.
trust that that helicopter is going to get me safely. That part. That sounds like fun.
What is it about that stunt or that type of stunt? Because in my brain, I'm actually seeing, the scene from like The Matrix where you have Neo and Morpheus. Morpheus jumps out of the building, Neo jumps out of the helicopter, and they grab each other. And that it's all wire work, but it looks absolutely insane. What is it about that type of work that you're okay with, but not the fall part?
So I have been blessed to work continuously with phenomenal riggers. And I mean, like specifically one, Michael Hansen. I worked with him on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I worked with him on Jackpot. I'm working with him on Peacemaker. He's been my rigger for so many things. I trust him with my life, literally. So if I have a good rigging team that I know and trust, I put my life in their hands, no problem. I trust myself, but there is that 1 inch room for error that is not forgiving when it comes to high falls. If you do not land perfectly on that X marks the spot on that airbag, anywhere else on that airbag, it's a no-go. Even if you land on the airbag, but it is not in that center part that you are told is your target, I have unfortunately seen and heard of experiences where that person doesn't get to go home, and people have watched somebody, lose their life because they were off. Like their head and their body landed on the airbag, but their legs were just out of that target, and it doesn't do the same job. So that kind of small room of air, like I don't feel comfortable doing that with airbags in high falls. But rigging and wires, I've only had great experiences with the rigging teams. So if I really trusted them, I would feel comfortable. And I think that would be just another level of adrenaline that I am in pursuit of.
I would imagine that implicit trust is it's required even just in a normal fight scene. You have to trust your partner in that scene not to actually haul off and hit you, right? To make it look real without it ending up being real at any point in time.
1000%.
And it sounds like to me that what you're describing is acceptable risk. Like 20% chance of something might be bad. Okay, 21 too much, right?
Correct. And a big part is in everything that I do, the reason why we are successful as stunt performers isn't because we do dumb stuff. Everything is risk mitigation, right? It's being a good risk taker, the art of risk, and being able to have exit strategies and contingency plans. Okay, if this car is supposed to hit me here and I'm supposed to go there, but something goes wrong, what are my 3 exit strategies? How can I bail out? How can I move away? How can I land safely? Where am I going to go? How am I going to do it? As long as you can put those plans into place, then you feel comfortable taking that risk. Cool, do it. If you can't really be a good risk taker, then this isn't a place for you. If you're just a daredevil, then this stunt industry is not for you.
I'm really glad you said that because I think there's this perception in the general populace that, stunt people are just a little bit crazy and they're just about living on that razor thin edge, and that's just how they get their kicks. I think there's a very big misconception that this is all crazy people doing crazy things and they accept insane risks for, a few dollars here and there, which to the general populace does kind of sound a little bit insane, being on fire or, jumping out of a helicopter, even with a wire. It all does seem a little extreme. So when you talk to people, when someone, let's say you were to tell someone very interested in being a stunt person who comes up to you and says, man, I just want to wreck a motorcycle and walk away. What is your advice to someone who says, I want to be a stunt person because this stuff all looks cool?
Yeah. Well, the first thing usually I ask is, what's your background? Where do you come from? What have you done that is going to help you in being a stunt performer? A lot of times there's one coordinator where when people ask him that, he asks them, unless you were an Olympian or a professional athlete, you probably won't find yourself at home in stunt performing. And even though I don't completely agree with that, there has to be some sort of background that tells you have the body awareness to be a good physical risk taker. And why does it seem fun to you? Because sometimes it seems fun to that adrenaline seeking side of people, go do a tandem skydive. Go get it out of your system. But why does this feel like it's a viable career path for you? What of it? Because there is a lot of not so glamorous side to stunt performing. There is no agencies. You can't just be a good physical athlete and then get an agency and then that agent goes and looks for jobs for you. There's a huge hustle that goes into being a freelance performer, where if you aren't a really needed height, weight, look, skin tone, athletic ability, it's hard for you to get a job. If you don't have that hustle, that network, if you don't have that drive to go and put yourself out there and constantly be pursuing your next job, if you aren't willing to be freelance, then this probably isn't a good place for you, right? There's feast or famine in this industry. And when it is feast, you are forcibly gorged. And when it is famine, you better know how to hunker down. You better be ambitious in ways to find side hustles. You better know how to hustle in other ways. This cannot just be it, because it doesn't work that way. And yeah, it sounds like, oh, wow, you guys made that much money in one day at work. Yeah, but that person only worked that one job in the past 3 months. So
Right.
You got to make $1,500 last 3 months. That's hard, especially when you're just starting before you're established. And even then, with the strike, COVID, all that stuff, even the established people that were doubling, the superheroes that you know and love went through it. I know people that have been in this industry and successful for over 20 years that lost everything. And production still isn't what it was before. It is still hard. So unless you have a real burning passion for what you do and you are going to be doing it 100 hours a week with and without a paycheck, then we have to reconsider if this is for you.
I think that probably just changed a lot of people's minds in whether or not they want to become stunt people. I think it's a very special mindset. It's a very special breed of human, right? That
It
says
really is.
yes to all of these things that you just listed.
A little.
So there is some truth to the little bit.
No, we do all have our damage, but
So what I'm hearing is it's probably not the fall guy. That shouldn't be your framework for I want to be a stunt person.
It's not all like the fall guy. It was a great insight to it, but that won't be your first day at work. That
Right.
is 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That might be what it looks like. And even in the fall guy, you see how hard it was on his mental to come back from a life-altering injury where he was jaded and he didn't have anything else to fall back on. He was valeting cars at a Mexican restaurant.
Is that something you think about? That there's that stunt out there? Is that something that comes into your mind, or do you just kind of knock that out?
No, absolutely not. That is something that you have to think about on the regular, because that is going to be a part of your risk mitigation. That is going to be a part of your risk assessment every time you say yes to a job, every time you recommend a job to somebody that is specialized, not because, hey, I might need the money, but that is not my field of specialty. And that you have to turn off those parts of your brain that make you feel comfortable. Like, oh, it feels good to take a job. And you have to turn on that part where it's like, hey, that could be your career ender. Is it worth it? Is it worth even taking that risk? Because there are people that don't go home after their job, right? So it's definitely something that we think about. It is out there, and it stops me from doing certain things. And that's part of it.
It's good to have a little self-preservation and mixed in with a little bit of crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jules, you've been fantastic. I could talk to you for another hour. I really appreciate you spending time with us, with all of your insights. You are a truly interesting human being, and I really appreciate your time. Tell me again about your school. If somebody's interested, if somebody's got that little bit of crazy and they want to come to you and ask.
Well, we don't have a school per se. It is a private stunt workshop, boot camp kind of thing. But it is something that we are very passionate about, and sharing that curiosity. Hey, it may not be for you, but at least you gave it the good old try, right? We talk about checking off those boxes. Tomorrow isn't promised. If you have a curiosity for it, ask questions, do some research, watch some videos, learn a little bit more about those things that your heart is kind of tugging at, because it's there for a reason. And my social media is Karate.Jewels. You can find me on there. I share a lot of BTS of the things that we've done, and some things that you may not have thought about could be answered on there. Also, you can check out Marshall.Smart on Instagram. That is my business alongside my husband, Justin Ortiz. He is at the Ortiz Experience, which all of us kind of share those tidbits, and you'll learn more about action stunts and when we have workshops, if it's coming somewhere near you, and how you can get involved and maybe learn a little bit more about that little inclination your heart is telling you is there.
Thank you, Jules. Appreciate it. We'll make sure to put that info up along with the show notes for this episode. Thank you again. I appreciate you. You're an amazing person. I wish you nothing but the best. And
thanks, Rick.
I hope your next job is just as cool as the last couple of them.
I hope so too. And I hope that we get to interact again soon. Hopefully I get to come out there and do some more fun stuff like we did on Suicide Squad. You guys are a blast, and I'm just blessed to have you guys in my life. Thank you again.
Look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you for listening, for spending this last 56 minutes or so with us. You can check all of our liner notes for Jules information. Also, you can go to yellowpikemedia.com if you'd like to know more about YPM and how we can help you do something cool like we did on Suicide Squad with Jules. Have a great day. Thank you. We will see you again next month.